G'day team, it's Chris speaking. Welcome back. A couple of weeks ago, I put out a video where I was just whining about not wanting to be trans, so I thought I would sit down and put some more coherent and cohesive thought into that and talk about the idea of going stealth. So, for those of you who don't know, what stealth means is basically going through life as you are and not letting anyone know that you are transgender. I definitely get the appeal of going stealth, but to me, I think the issue is a little bit different than going stealth and just living my life and having no one know that I'm trans, because being transgender is a part of me, and there is, I guess, some internal transphobia and denial that I wish that my existence was different. I wish that I was born a cis male and I could just live as a cis male, but I also value being transgender and having lived as female for 26 years before that sort of interim of gender confusion, gender identity, because I've had a lot of experiences, and I've been able to see how the other side live, and now being on sort of this side of the fence and seeing how women get treated, it's like, why do we treat women this way? So having that understanding is very, very valuable to me. It's something that I'm conscious of in my life, of treating women better than they are. But the idea of going stealth is I'm not gonna lie, the idea of going stealth is, it's not something that I do consciously for myself. There are certain situations where I do go stealth, but it's not something that I do consciously. I still think that everyone that walks past is going to clock me as a transgender person, and is going to call me out on it, but I do pass more and more. I'm now pretty much 2 years on testosterone, and I don't get misgendered a lot. I mean, obviously COVID's still a thing, and when I'm wearing a mask I do get misgendered a little bit more, but yeah, very, very rarely, especially when I start talking, people don't tend to misgender me. And in situations when I'm just with strangers and they call me sir or lad or champ or whatever, I'm not going to be like, oh, you don't have to do that because I'm transgender. I'm just going to let that go, because I'm like, yeah, clocked me as a dude, score 1 for Chris. But in situations where I'm at work or around people I know, even when I meet new people and I'm training them at work, I joke about being trans and past experiences and whatever. I was 26, 27 when I came out. I was just before my 28th birthday when I went on testosterone. I've lived a life. I've lived a life beforehand. I'm not ashamed of that life. Do I wish I was born as a cis guy? Yeah, that's one of the reasons that told me that I was trans, and I probably had to go through this whole thing. But I'm not, and I don't want to be ashamed of my life, even though there are times when I'm like, I just want to live. And I'm sure that a lot of us get that. Anybody who's done any sort of, transitioning, or not even trans related, people who have made a big decision about their life probably have wished that they are just where they are now, because they've fought so hard to get there. It's like, well, I wish that was easier. And same thing with transitioning. Anyway, I think I got off topic. What are we talking about? Being stealth. Cool. Being stealth is desirable in some situations. Sometimes I wish that I worked at a workplace that never knew I was born female, who never knew I identified a different way for so long. I've been with the company I'm in now for 6 years. I don't have plans on moving on from that company anytime soon, because it is stable. It's a good company. The pay is good. I genuinely enjoy my work, but it's a company of between 200 to 300 people in one space. A lot of those people knew me before transition, and it was a weird interim, and it's still weird now sometimes, because people will misgender me They don't do it maliciously or anything. I've had no trouble with that. They'll correct themselves very quickly afterwards, but I'll still get misgendered. I'll still get called my birth name. And when those things happen, it's like, I wish I quit. I wish I quit and I changed jobs. Once I started passing as male, once I had my name changed and my gender paperwork done, I wish that I quit and I started a new job. But the reality is I've got shit to pay for because I'm an adult, and I don't want to start at the bottom again, and have to work my way up in another job again. So we deal with it, but it is still frustrating. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't still frustrating when those things happen, particularly when you meet someone for the first time, and now I pass as a guy and people just clock me as a guy. They don't question it. So it's a little bit hard in those situations when you have someone new at work coming up, and for example, I sometimes help with training. They will have no idea, and they will just go, cool, he's a dude, whatever. And then someone will call me the wrong name, and you're like, cool, now I got to explain that. And I have no problems explaining that. I'm fine with my past. I'm fine with being trans. I'll often come out to people that I meet because it's part of my life and it's part of my journey. But it's just those times where you're like, oh, I could have gotten away with that, and I just got outed, basically. Cool, then we move on. But when it happens, it's a bit of a moment, and then you just, I get the idea of why people want to go stealth. I definitely understand why. You get a lot of trans YouTubers who come on. They do their first couple of years of transition. They'll talk about anything trans related under the sun. I find myself in a similar boat now, and I always thought that, my idea about coming onto YouTube was to talk about trans stuff until I didn't have trans stuff to talk about anymore, and then just being like, all right, peace, I'm done with the trans thing, and live my life. What happens with a lot of trans YouTubers that I've seen is that they'll get to that sort of 1 year or 2 years on testosterone, and then maybe once a year or twice a year you'll get an update, or you'll get people talking about trans issues, but it's a lot of like meme content, which personally I don't want to make and don't watch, but that's me, it's no one else. But there seems to be this disconnect between being transgender and then just wanting to live, and I get that a lot now that I'm coming up to 2 years on testosterone. I was talking about in the last video about not wanting to be trans, and it's not that I don't want to be trans. Obviously, this is my existence. I can't change it. But I definitely get the frustration with wanting to be more than the trans guy. Like, yep, I feel like I'm pretty much done my transition now. I now just want to live my life, but I can't, because there's still this thing that is still a big part of my life. I still need to go and get hormones every 3 months. My blood is not doing what it's meant to, and we're 2 years in and I'm still trying to figure out where my levels sit. Things like cholesterol are too high, and that has to do with the blood levels or whatever. My doctor and I are still trying to figure out where that sweet spot is for me with Reandron, whether it's definitely not 12 weeks, it may be 14 weeks, we're not sure. But yeah, there's just stuff like that, and it's a constant reminder. So the idea of going stealth and not having to deal with it in your everyday life when you pass, I get the appeal. I do. I don't do it personally, but I definitely understand it. I don't know if that was more coherent than the last video, but we're going to end it there. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of it, then click on my face somewhere down on the screen, and I'll catch you next time. Okay.